Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week I want to talk about Purim. Purim is coming up next week, and there's kind of an interesting idea that some people have mentioned before, and I think it's worth exploring. So the Torah, or I should say certainly the the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, really forbids, Ezra and Nehemiah, the later prophets, they forbid intermarriage. And a lot of people look at the book of Esther and they say, well, Esther was intermarried. Esther was intermarried to the Persian king, King Ahasuerus. Now, how can we possibly say that intermarriage is a bad or forbidden thing when Esther, by virtue of her marriage to Ahasuerus, the Persian king, she was, as a direct result of that, able to bring about the salvation of the Jewish people. So, how can we possibly say that? It's kind of like saying, oh, geez, I hate growing up, with rich parents. They're so strict and they're so this and that. But you know what I mean? Like, I'll happily take their money when they buy me a house or buy me a new car, etc. It seems disingenuous or a little bit not totally honest. And I think there's a couple things to mention here. Is that first, certainly right off the bat, the text in the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 16, does say Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus in his royal palace. And the Gemara, the Talmud, deduces from this that certainly this was not a chosen union. This is something that, the king tells you that you're going to marry him, and you marry him. So that's first. But I think that there's a real profound, very, very positive message to take from this, is that Esther was in a position where, all things equal, she probably did not want to marry the man who just killed his former wife, Queen Vashti. I mean, all things equal, most sane women would not want to be in that situation here. And certainly, from the perspective of intermarriage, it's not, again, generally promoted. And the idea here is that she did not choose a situation for herself. However, she found herself in this situation, and yes, 100%. As a result of this situation, she was able to bring about the redemption of the Jewish people. So what's the message for us? What's the lesson for us today? The lesson for us is that no matter what situation we are in, no matter what situation we're in, and no matter how far we think we are away from true, authentic Jewish practice, Jewish life, etc., etc., you might think, oh, well, you know what, I'm living in a, not in a Jewish neighborhood or not in a religious neighborhood, I don't have any Jewish friends, or my parents are opposed to my lifestyle, or I can't read Hebrew, or, just any possible difficulty or lack of an ideal situation we can think of does not necessarily preclude are being able to have a huge and momentous and earth-shattering impact on the Jewish people. And I think that's the lesson of Queen Esther here, is that she was in a situation, a totally assimilated Jewish woman. She was a totally assimilated Jewish woman who had, basically, so to speak, she didn't abandon her Jewish roots, but she didn't choose this marriage. But basically, she was not in a position, she wasn't raising Jewish children, she wasn't, she was very much taken away from her Jewish community. And yet she was the one, obviously it was, Mordecai's urging, but she was the one ultimately who caused the salvation of the Jewish people. And I think the take-home message for us is that we need to simply say, obviously we need to work hard and say, put ourselves in the best situation that we possibly can, but you know what, sometimes we can't choose every situation that we're in. In fact, we can never always do that. But the reality is that when we stop and we think, I'm in the situation I'm in now, make the most of it. Always try to push for more. Always try to become more. Always try to put ourselves in the best situation possible. But to say, you know what, at this stage, at this day, right now, God put me here right now because I am 100% capable of bringing about the salvation of the Jewish people. And when we talk about that today, we're talking about the Messianic era. So it's a very empowering thing to think about that, every single Jew, no matter what stance, no matter how learned, and no matter how this or that they are, all of us have equal ability to really have that positive impact on the Jewish people. And I think that looking at Queen Esther is a very empowering, very inspiring story for all of us. So that's it. Best wishes, Shabbat Shalom, and Purim Sameach.